Welcome back to All Things ETH. My name is Aaron, and on this channel we talk about all things Ethereum. We talk about projects, play to earn, NFTs, and price. And today, guys, I want to talk about the new mouth cards that were just leaked by the Sky Mavis team for Axie Infinity Origin that should be coming out at the end of March or early April. We can't wait for it to start, and we have leaked mouth cards today. So let's jump right into those. I don't want to waste any time today. And let's get into this. So one thing I've noticed, and I've actually perused this quite a bit more than I have with previous videos. In previous videos, didn't have a lot of time to look at the cards ahead of time, and I apologize for that. I'm going to try to do a little bit better at prepping my videos on before I record them as we get better at this together, right? So one thing I've noticed, guys, is these cards are actually fairly drastically different than their current meta. So in Battles v2 or the current version of the game, we have some of these cards that deal very little damage. In particular, we have Sirius in the plants that deals very little damage but takes energy as long as you play it with other cards, right? In this new version of the game, Sirius is going to be drastically different. Pardon me. So it's going to be discarding one card from your hand, which is an interesting thing. I think maybe you might have too many cards in your hand at some point, so this would be a helpful thing, or it could be actually a struggle for you. Actually, I think it's actually taking away abilities for you, but also doing heavy damage. So 90 damage to the attacking Axie when you use this card, and currently I think Sirius is something in the neighborhood of 35, I believe, which is drastically different considering that the current version of the game gives you a high amount of HP to begin with, especially if the plants and reptile classes. Now everybody's going to have, every class is going to have the same amount of health. At least that's what we understand currently. And the cards actually deal less damage overall. You very seldom see a card over 90. In fact, Sirius is one of two cards, I believe, that deals 90 damage in all of the mouth cards, and Risky Fish being the other one. Risky Fish, in fact, applies weak to this Axie for 2 turns. It's one of the highest damage cards, and it kind of gives you an idea of why discarding one of your cards could actually hurt you as well. So I think they're trading high damage for a little bit of damage to your ability to play better, and it's the trade-off that you're getting with this 90 damage card. So that's really interesting to me, that that complete change of usage for Sirius and for Risky Fish. Risky Fish was definitely a high damage card in the current meta, but it would add damage to the next attack. So and definitely wouldn't apply weak. It would just add a buff to the very next attack plus, if you will, to the next attack. So some interesting things there. A lot of the other cards have similar utility to what they currently do, although Goda is different. Shuffle 1 Void into an opponent's discard pile and banish, so that's very different. Those words, I'm not familiar with what their utility is going to be. We'll have to find that out with the new version of the game. Nutcracker is going to be very similar in that it adds, the more Nutcracker cards you play, or Nutcracker parts that you have, all Nutcracker cards of this Axie gain 6 damage this battle. So not only going to have Nutcracker mouth, Nutcracker tail, but we could also have Nutcracker ears for sure. And so I want to say there might even be Nutcracker eyes. I have to familiarize myself with the eye cards or the eye parts on my beast to know that for sure. Some of you are going to already know that and think I'm ridiculous for even mentioning it, but one other card I wanted to point out specifically was the Little Owl card. No longer is this a backdoor card, guys. A Little Owl, all Little Owl cards of this Axie gain 6 damage this battle, so it's very similar to Nutcracker actually in the Beast class, where Nutcracker is in the mouth, in the tail, in the ears, right? I know for a fact that you can have little owl eyes and ears, right? Because I've had that in some of my Axies. When I'm doing a search for little owl in the market, I've definitely come across other little owls besides the mouth card in particular. And this is a very different usage than in the current meta, guys. This 60 damage card is way different than the 25 you get currently from Little Owl, and doesn't have any sort of backdoor action. It just does a damage buff, which is actually interesting because I have a couple Axies personally that have Little Owl mouth and Scaly Spoon ears, or Scaly Spoon horns actually. And because of the Scaly Spoon and the horns and the low damage of the mouth card of Little Owl, it's actually made these otherwise decent Axies pretty useless in the current meta, and it could change these Axies entirely into much better cards. So we'll have to see what the eyes and ears card do as well, to see if those Axies moving forward are going to have more utility than they currently do. Right now, they're just adding energy to some of my scholars. So anything else that I want to look at? Kotaro's a little interesting. Deal 2 hits to random enemies. Gain 1 energy if hit at least 2 enemies. So that the wording there is a little bit tough to read, and I'll love to see the mechanic in action when we start up. It does only 30 damage instead of the 85 that Kotaro currently does. Now again, with the ratio of HP that you have to the damage of the card right now is going to change fairly drastically, as you will understand if you play this game on a regular basis. Otherwise, most things that I've read through have similar utility, like stun for Tiny Turtle. Toothless Bite is interesting with the initial. If I believe initial is going to be if you play this card first, instead of, because there's not going to be a speed skill related to your Axies anymore, so birds aren't going to be faster and plants aren't going to be more tanky and slow. So really looking forward to seeing more cards come out, especially when we finally get to the eyes and ears, guys. I believe they'll probably leak the what is it we have left. So we have the horn cards left. We've gotten back and we've gotten tail, and now today we've gotten mouth. We'll have the horn cards, I believe, probably in a couple days, as they've been releasing these every 2 or 3 days from each other. And then hopefully we see eyes and ears very soon too, because those will be very, very telling into what sort of utility our current Axies are going to have, and have just as much weight as the mouth and tail and back and horns that we already have, unless they give less utility to the eyes and ears, which would be interesting. So with that, guys, let me know in the comments what you think about these leaked cards. I found some very interesting things, especially with Little Owl and Risky Fish and with Sirius. So very different card usage. We'll have to we'll probably have some breeding going on based on these new things. Now, I'm not going to be breeding too much based on the Ronin, the Origin meta quite yet, not until we see really in effect what is going to happen. And as this article says from the Substack, that these are subject to change. So not financial advice, guys, but I do think some people are going to start making their breeding decisions sooner than later, to get ahead of the curve. In fact, I had one Axie sell yesterday that I was very surprised. I sold a 100% pure double nut Rimp Beast yesterday, sold for 0.1 Ethereum, and was just blown out of the water because I bought that, or at least bought the parents of that, because I did breed that specifically. I bought the parents of that specific Axie for about $35, $40 a piece, because which would be like 0.02 Ethereum, right? So very interesting to see more people buying pure breeds in the marketplace. I don't know if it was a purchase based on breeding in particular. It was a zero breed and it was 100% pure. So perhaps because it had multiple nutcrack cards that or nutcrack parts that they wanted that in particular, but it makes me want to go into each one of my Axies. I'm up to like 50 or 60 Axies at this point to give energy to all my scholars. I have 10 scholars currently, and I've kind of lost track, to be honest, of all the eyes and ear cards in particular that I have out there. So I'm going to take a deep dive into that at some point here. Hopefully ask some of my scholars to help me out and give me a little bit of their thoughts on what they have in their inventory. And but anyway, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. We are continuing to give away 100 SLP with every single video that I release from now until Origin launches. So please share this content with your family and friends. I would love to give away 100 SLP to different people all the time. And the more comments we get, the more chance we have of different people every single time. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.